I hired Mary Oakley to work with my nephew, whom I had raised since he was a baby. Now 12 years old, my nephew was suddenly being taken back by his mother, whom he hardly knew, so that she could move to another state to pursue an internet relationship with a stranger. My nephew was horrified, so I hired an attorney to stop him from being torn from the loving and stable life he had always known with me. The attorney representing our case suggested that my nephew would present his feelings to a psychologist, who in turn present them to a judge hearing his case. Although my nephew insisted he had no positive feelings for his mother, Mary Oakley prompted him to profess that deep down he loved her. My nephew did this, he told me, because he felt guided by Mary Oakley and didn't want to go against the recommendation of this adult and psychologist. My nephew told me that he began to feel increasingly suicidal after each visit with Mary Oakley because she was guiding him toward a mother he had barely known and didn't want to be around. At that point, I went into Mary Oakley's office and paid for a session to explain my nephew's history. In the roughly 50-minute session, I was able to speak very little, possibly 5 minutes. Mary Oakley spoke at length about things that were far from relevant in my nephew's case. As I tried to get her to understand why I was there, Mary Oakley raised her hand, pushing it forward and showing the palm to interrupt me and again take over the conversation. She never heard what I paid to come in to tell her. Psychologists really get very little of the dynamic of a relationship between a parent and a child in the brief 1-hour weekly sessions they schedule. Mary Oakley knew very little of my nephew's relationship with me. She presented information to the judge that showed she had a great vocabulary in psychological terms, but her information was greatly irrelevant. My nephew wanted to get away from his mother and come home, and Mary Oakley made it much harder. I really recommend anyone but Mary Oakley.